What if I told you that the interest they are charging you, they have already collected it and even reported it to the IRS? In this video, I'm going to break down what a 1099 INT is, how it reveals the inner accounting of banks, and how this form might prove that the interest tied to your debt has already been satisfied by someone else. Okay? Now, the purpose of me making this video, I got a comment on the video that I did with Success with Steven, and they asked me to do a video on 1099s. Okay, there's different types of 1099 forms, 1099A, 1099C we've talked about on this channel. We've talked about a 1099 OID, but there's also a 1099 INT specific for interest payments. You dig what I'm saying? There's other 1099 NEC, 1099B, 1099K, and what I'm going to talk about today specifically is the 1099 INT. Now, when people look at the 1099 INT or anything that is 1099, just based off of previous information, some way, shape, or form, we think that it's about us or debt discharge being about us monetizing these forms, okay? But I'm going to reveal how this connects to debt discharge and how to use this to your advantage, what this means for you, all right? So stick around to the end so that you can get this game. Now, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Make sure to do your due diligence. You dig what I'm saying? Make sure to go look at the info. You understand what I'm saying? Number 2, if you're brand new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get this video to 500 likes. So if you take a look at that like button right now, and it's not at 500, just do me a favor, hit that button for me. Okay? Now, so what is a 1099 INT really? Now let's go ahead and put up a 1099 INT. You understand what I'm saying? 1099 INT is an official tax document used by financial institutions and other entities to report interest income paid to individuals or business during a tax year. The purpose is to inform the IRS and the recipient of the total interest income earned, allowing for accurate tax reporting. Okay? Now let's actually pull up the form so y'all can see what the form looks like. The form obviously, boom, looks very similar to every other 1099 form. Now, let me highlight that this is not something that you would file, okay? If anything, you should be looking for your copy, especially if you are the recipient, if it pertains to you, you should be looking for this copy. And you have a right to ask the creditor who filed this on that particular account for this 1099 INT copy so that you can keep it for your records. Shout out to my man Kova. Talk about you still good. But the point is, anytime a person or business makes over $10 in interest income, it must be reported. It's typically, if they filed this, is normally sent to the recipient of the interest and copied to the IRS, okay? But most people think this form is about your bank account, but the reality is, what if you're not the one earning interest, and what if you're the one that's actually generating it? What if, because you got into a contract with this company, created a promissory note that has interest attached to it, what if that led to it being generated? We're about to really unpack this and dive into that. Now, the next question that you can ask is, who is really earning interest on your debt? If you took out a loan, you were charged interest. We know this. That is a fact. But the question is, where does that interest go? Clearly, it goes to the bank or whoever we are paying or whoever we got in a contract with. But let's just talk about how the bank securitize your promissory note and receive interest payments from investors or the treasury. But they charge you interest. They make you pay extra than the principal. So if you are being charged interest, but they are being paid by investors or by the treasury for the interest, why am I being charged interest? But how about on the other fact that your principal typically is paid by your promissory note? Okay, because they monetize that. So the question is, did you receive a 1099 INT? Because technically you should have gotten the interest payment and you should be taking that interest to pay the interest. All right. But Someone did in your name. They used your name to receive those interest payments and they did not tell you. Why? Because they want to double dip. They want to make more money off of you. Not only from your promissory note, but the interest payments that will be disbursed to you so that you can be able to pay the interest on whatever the loan is. Somebody is already taking it. Because technically, you should be able to file these 1099 INTs, but you're not getting interest income. They could be reporting interest income based off of your credit instrument and using it as a deposit, then reporting the income to the IRS. So if they report your interest payment to the IRS, it makes you think, okay, what is the hidden offset behind closed doors? What is actually happening behind the scenes? And I'm about to do a real deep dive and really tie it back to debt discharge. But first, if the interest has already been reported as income to the IRS, the question you should ask yourself is, has it already been satisfied? Because remember, if it's been satisfied, then back to a legal holder in due course, back to a contract. If that contract has been performed on or satisfied, then they technically can't come after you or recover the same thing that they already got paid out. All right. It's just a simple concept of that. All right. Why would you, if that contract gets fulfilled, it doesn't matter who fulfilled it. It's been fulfilled. But if you maneuver and act as if you didn't get it fulfilled, that is dishonorable. Okay? So at the end of the day, one will say, okay, you're doing this, you putting these banks through all this rigmarole, but they are doing dishonorable things. Am I right or am I right? Okay? So the other question is, are you being double charged? Once privately, because it's going to come from the Treasury or investors, and once publicly, when they come after you and they send you the bill statement and they say that you have to pay principal plus interest and the interest outweighs the principal. This is how they trap you. So look into whether the originating lender or debt buyer filed a 1099 INT tied to your note. And this will just indicate that there is some money that is being put out that you don't know about. Certain disclosures are important when it comes to contracts. Okay? When you look at the INT form, it's not about, okay, can I monetize this INT form? Is this form going to give me some money out of nowhere? It's a reporting. It's information that you need to know, and it's information that indicates something that can help you with your fight. So some claims that this proves interest has already been accounted for in their internal accounting or discharged by insurance or government offsets. If the interest has already been accounted for, like imagine if your interest has already been accounted for, so was the principal. What are you doing? What am I paying for? None of this is going to be accounted for. Y'all going to keep this under the table? Okay? So let's bring the connection to discharge. Okay? If the interest has already been collected and reported, why is the borrower still being charged? That's the first question. And number two, could this support a claim that the debt is settled via a mere liability or a closed book accounting? This ties into the debt discharge theory because you are being held liable after the account has been zeroed out in private books. So let's really expound upon that. Okay? If the 1099 form is used to report interest income, it is typically issued by a bank or institution that paid someone more than $10 in interest during a year. So when a bank earns interest, for example, from your loan payment, they may report that to the IRS as 1099 income and using the 1099 INT. But if they're getting this from the investors or the Treasury, then damn, they're making more money. So here's where this INT theory comes in, okay? Because some researchers and some private bankers claim that if the bank already reported the interest that they made from your loan as income and claimed it on their taxes, didn't they already benefit? And if someone else paid it on your behalf, wasn't it already satisfied behind the scenes? Okay? This is where the idea of discharge and offset comes from, because again, if someone made money off of that original contract, then they really have no legal standing to collect from you. Okay? Everything that we talk about, 1099 INT, 1099A, 1099B, C, whatever the case may be, are reporting forms of income, right? And if that income is tied to your note, you are entitled to that, okay? Not in the sense of like, yes, that interest should come to you. But if they already got it, it's no worry. Just tell me you already got it. Because that's what a contract requires. Full disclosures. If you're going to get interest payments based off of me signing this note, then I am a value. Okay? You can't sit here and act like you loaning me money and you're charging me interest because you loaned me money. Okay? So the other question is, does the 1099 INT mean your whole debt is discharged? No, it doesn't. Okay? But here's the implication. The bank may have received interest from someone else, okay, like treasury, bonds, insurance, or the repackaging sale from your promissory note. And if they report it as interest income, that means someone paid, okay? And that raises the question, was it double paid? Okay? So think about it like this, okay? You signed a promissory note, which the bank treated as an asset / deposit, okay? They then sold it or used it to generate money. That's the credit. Number 3, they also charge you monthly payments, including the interest that they got paid on. And number 4, they filed that 1099 INT showing that they already got the interest through other means. So if the bank already got paid interest income elsewhere, are they double dipping by billing you again? The answer is yes. But this doesn't automatically discharge a loan, but it creates a potential argument for offset, violation of fair lending, and evidence of a hidden satisfaction. Okay? I'm not going to go and really make this about debt discharge. I'm going to make it about something that they didn't tell me. Okay? Because if you guys made money, you guys were satisfied, and you guys never told me, I'm going to bring up that because I technically do not agree with you coming after me for money that you already got paid on. You have a right to challenge a company on that. Okay? So here's what you can do. Okay? But before I talk about what you can do to be able to get this information, I want to dive into this a little bit deeper. Okay? Because a question will happen is, so what happens to the principal? Okay? Are you saying that if the INT gets filed, then technically I should only pay the principal? That would be the case, right? If they was actually loaning you money. But what if I told you that that promissory note actually paid off the principal? Okay? So if the principal has been paid off, then technically there's no interest. All that's left is interest, but they get the principal and interest. That's what the 1099 INT reveals. The fact that they're getting interest, they are getting interest income. And if you found that reporting of the interest income and it equaled up to the full amount, right? And let's just say like you get into this loan at the top of 2025, you see revealed in 2026 that a 1099 INT was filed based off of that account and they received interest income. It would be funny if that interest income equaled up to the entire year. Okay. And the other question would be like, would they report the income the interest that you paid as interest income? Questions that need answers. Okay. So if your promissory note is treated by the bank as a negotiable instrument, that means that you actually have created value. That's number 2. That's number 1. Number 2, if the bank deposits your note, what happens is, because you may think that they are lending you money, but we've already talked about how they're not lending you money. Okay, they are just taking your values, creating money out of thin air, and giving you what they just created based off of the value that you have given them via your loan agreement or your promissory note. Okay, they'll make you think that it's reserves or it's loan funds and things of that nature, but the reality is it's not that. Okay, it's being created from you, and that's what I want to emphasize. And it's not that people will look at this like, oh, I should be getting this money and recoup all of this money. But no, like your argument is you're really testing to see whether they have already satisfied the claim or not. Okay, man, I'll keep repeating the same things over and over and over again because people think that the story is going to change depending on what it is. If it's a different form, it's a different way. No, everything is really an indication of something. Okay. So here's the other thing that really, really drives to the fraud, because they'll make you think that you were charging you interest because we loaned you money. But if we look and we find out that they never loaned us money. Now they're making interest off of something that they never risked. Because I get it. If I gave you $1,000 and I said, okay, bet, like, pay me this $1,000 in a week. If you pay it off in a week, you're not being charged interest, right? But if you take months, every single month, I'm going to charge you X percent interest on this $1,000 because you are taking your time paying me back. That makes sense, okay, if you contract to that. But what if I never gave you that $1,000? What if when I gave you my promissory notes, or what if when I got into that contract with you, you just having the contract almost like a wholesaler made money, okay? My man Quiet Storm says this is the dirty games that they play. Shout out to the Twitch community, okay? So even after that, they then file a 1099 INT because they already got paid on the interest income that they're going to charge you over the X amount, whatever the term is, through securitization, through government credit backing, through the treasury, through internal accounting, okay? They're going to be compensated no matter what, okay? So then the question is, what about the principal? The principal is being paid through the promissory note, okay? If you don't know what principal and interest is, I mean, anybody who has a loan or whatever the case may be, the principal is, okay, if the car is 25 grand, right? You may pay over 12 grand in interest depending on how much the APR is, okay? They will get paid, let's just say if it's 25 grand and over a 72-month term, you are going to pay 30, or 40 something grand, okay? The difference between the 25 grand to the 40 something grand, that is what is going to be reported on the 1099 INT, okay? It leaves that $25,000 that was paid via securitization, okay? And that securitization is just a event that triggers them also to get paid interest, okay? So technically all of this stuff is prepaid, all right? But they come after you. That's where the fraud happens. That is where it seems immoral, okay? But again, from a dualist perspective, on a business side, I mean, it's immoral for you to not know this. It's immoral for you to not actually do the research. Because technically, just like I can look it up right now and find it up, you can do the same thing too, all right? And it would be honorable if they told you, hey, we already make money off of this. Your signature is what the value is, but they don't do that. And one may say, like, is that fair from what we think or know about fairness? Like, I guess not. But the fair part is the fact that I can research this. The fair part is that I can challenge them on this. The fair part is that I can hold them accountable. The fair part is that there are things put in place for them being paid twice and not double recovering, okay? The fair part is that this is not something that you could leave unnoticed. But where we mess up is we think that people should like just, do for us just because we think that is right. But the reality is like, it's just business. And me being in sales, okay? And people think of sales. There's also people who are on the other side of sales who've never done sales before, get sold on something or skeptical about sales or whatever the case may be. Those people think that is not fair. But when you're on the other side of sales, you actually see the game for what it is. You get what I'm saying? So again, I'm big on truth, okay? And the truth is that you can always have a fight for anything. That's the truth, okay? Not emotion. What's emotional is the fact that you think that just because they didn't tell you that they are wrong, they are criminals in some way, shape, or form. They really are, keeping it a buck. We know that the wealthiest people are some of the greediest people we know, okay? They're wealthy for a reason because they know how to keep their money, okay? So if they already got the interest, shouldn't you only owe the principal? Technically, yes, but the principal was already covered by the original note. So under this logic, your note created the loan. Their INT proves that they got paid interest, and therefore you owe nothing further unless you continue to volunteer into the debt. See, we volunteer to pay the debt, okay? But you can also volunteer to challenge the debt, and that's all I'm saying. When it comes to debt discharge, be willing to challenge and question everything, okay? Yes, if a 1099 INT form is filed on you, I want to understand what that 1099 INT form actually is, what it means, okay? And if it's interest income, and I look at that 1099 INT form, and I'm only giving them 12 months worth of interest that may equal up to, let's just say X amount of dollars, but I go and look at that 1099, what I should be getting is the copy B of the 1099 INT form, okay? It will tell me the interest income. If this interest income, let's just say I've spent over $3,000 in interest income, okay? But I look on this and it says 15,000 of interest income. Where did that money come from? I didn't pay it. This is why they don't give you this, but you have a right to demand for them to give this to you. So we're gonna talk about that in a second. Now, my goal is to really shift your perspective when it comes to debt, okay? Shift your perception, all right? My goal is to help you to build an administrative and a legal challenge that has merit behind it, that is backed by a paper trail. And my goal is to highlight how the banks operate using credit creation and how you can now mirror the liability onto them, shift the burden of proof onto them, okay? So let's break down how you're gonna really do this, okay? Number one, you can file what's called a Form 4506T, okay? And you can request for a transcript of tax return, okay? And what this does, okay, it will check for any 1099 forms issued under your SSN that you never received. This is how you can audit your SSN. And if a 1099 INT shows interest income was reported that you didn't receive, ask who reported it, what account is tied to that interest, and was it your note, your account, your trust? This form here can reveal so much about your accounting, especially as it pertains to the IRS and debts that are connected to your SSN, that you kind of, at some point, you can use this form, okay? People are afraid to do anything IRS, but this is a one form safe that you're just requesting transcripts, okay? You can do that, all right? But I'm gonna put this out there. This is not financial advice. This is not tax advice. You got to be strategic about this. And again, I'm giving you strategies to find information that you can use against them. We talk about the administrative process. We talk about the conditional acceptance process. We talk about the UCC. We talk about the tender of payment. We talk about how to challenge contracts, okay? Either as the debtor or through a trust model, okay? And again, everything that we are going to talk about, even when it pertains to 1099s, is the fact that it is reporting information that you should know, and you can bring this up, okay? If there was no meeting of the minds, why wouldn't you just tell me that you was going to get paid up front, not only through the promissory note, but the treasury and investors is going to pay my interest? Why didn't you tell me that? Why are you still coming after me for debt? And this makes a unenforceable contract that you can then challenge. When you really shift that burden, you put them in a position where they have to explain certain things that they don't want to explain, never truly can explain, because it'll put them in a detriment. That is when you win, okay? So don't just stop at a 1099 coupon remittance, the number at the bottom of the remittance. Don't just stop there, okay? Those are just indications that something is happening behind the scenes that they did not tell you. And you can now bring this up in the claim when it comes to contract law, because what does contract law require? Full disclosure. But again, this is only for educational purposes only. Remember to do your due diligence. And this is not legal advice, okay? You are not advised to file false 1099s, impersonate a lender, or attempt discharge without a lawful basis. The lawful basis behind a 1099 INT is the fact that it is information that is not being told to you. It's a lack of disclosure. And you can look at the restatement of contracts, okay? You can look at the Truth in Lending Act, where it requires an informed credit use, okay? It should be no uninformed credit use. You can look at the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, when you can challenge the validity of a debt. You can look at the aspect of securitization and see and ask for the accounting using the UCC 9-210. Conditional acceptance, okay? Affidavit of truth. What is your truth? So I seen the 1099 INT and it said that my interest was paid, okay? So technically now I'm disputing this interest, but now I'm also going to ask you if you securitize that principal too. It being securitized means that all of that has been paid for by someone else. So what am I? Your double profit. Okay. Now it's just the honor conversation that just not taken lightly when it comes to contracts. So you can fight me all you want and say, oh, well, that's not going to work. But it's just some questions that need answering. So even at the end of the day, I'm talking about 1099. So I have to put out there to go ahead and get your tax advice from a CPA, all of that. This is not tax advice, okay? But this is some information that you can use to enhance your debt discharge process. So real quick, if I opened your eyes to the real role of a 1099 INT, this is not a form that you file and it's going to be monetized. You're going to make money off of it. It's an indication. It's a reporting form, okay? Drop a comment down below about your INT information, whatever you've learned about it, processes, help the community out, okay? And if you want to see all the 1099s connect like a spiderweb, INT, A, OID, B, C, more, subscribe and turn on the notification bell because this week I plan to talk about 1099s and how they apply to debt discharge, okay? Lastly, if you want to learn more about this, down below is the school community. The school community is completely free for 7 days, okay? And then after the 7 days, it will bill you, okay? So if you tap into it for 7 days and you don't like it, by all means, you can cancel it. It's okay. But if you do like it, it's only 27 bucks a month, less than $1 a day. You dig what I'm saying? And you can also grab it for the year. So every single time when I make these videos and I'm doing anything in creating templates, letters, instruction, guides, checklists, I'm going to put it all in the school community, okay? And if you're brand new, you can get in the school community for 7 days for free. If you're someone that takes fast action, you can go in there and be able to get all what you need in 7 days. Probably not. But if you want the continued updates and instructions, it's very cheap, okay? But only until I reach 1,000 members, and we're already getting close to 800 members. So go ahead and tap in now and get grandfathered in at this price point, because once it goes up, it's going to stay right there. All right. Number 2, if you want to work with me one-on-one, tap in. The link is in the description. Go ahead and apply for my one-on-one mentorship. But remember, it's for people that want to fix their credit and get funding. Yes, I do talk about debt discharge, but if you are planning to book that to only get a debt discharge mentor, just tap into the school community. Tap into the Twitch streams so you can ask questions. You feel me? At Twitch, biz_Nick. But other than that, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching the video. You dig what I'm saying? Tap into the Twitch. Tap into my Instagram. We've been going crazy on Instagram. I'll bring that up. I'll talk about that Instagram on my Twitch. But I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching the video. And I'm out. This video is sponsored by the Fund Yourself Academy. My step-by-step system designed to help you fix your credit, get funding, and build real financial freedom from scratch. If you're tired of feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just ready to stop living paycheck to paycheck, this is where it changes. Inside the Academy, I break down everything from consumer law secrets that they don't teach in school to how to remove negative items and boost your score, get access to business funding, and start building multiple income streams online. Whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your game and get the bag, this is your playbook. We've got tools, templates, dispute letters, mentorship calls, private community access, and an exact roadmap I use to leave my 9-to-5 and create time freedom. But only for a limited time, you can get access to the Fund Yourself Academy on a free trial basis for the next 7 days. And then after that, you pay less than $1 a day at 27 bucks a month if you like it. No fluff, just facts and just freedom. Go to thefundyourselfacademy.com or hit the link in the description to join now, because nobody's coming to save you, but you can fund yourself.